All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our today's event, the ISO 20001 for SaaS startups, a step-by-step guide. First of all, thanks everyone for joining. We'll maybe wait 2 more minutes since most of us probably just had lunch. And for those already joining, I would like to ask you, should we do it in English or German? We can do both. We prepared everything in English, but if it might be the case that all of you are German speakers, we can also do it in German. Therefore, maybe quickly type into the chat if you're an English speaker only. Okay, prefer English. All right, then we will do it in English, since English is also our company language. All right, I see more and more people joining. Yeah, let's wait 1 more minute and then we can start, and hopefully everyone is back from their lunch break. All right, I just saw 2 more people joining in the last seconds. Hopefully everyone is back from their lunch break. Welcome again for everyone who just joined, and thanks for taking the time. Today we will have a look into the ISO 20001 and especially how SaaS startups can get it done step by step. Before we dive into it, a few words about me and about Kertos. I'm Chris. I'm your host today, and I, from my background, studied at the Technical University of Munich in my bachelor's and my master's. And already during these studies, I realized that I love bringing innovation to the market, and therefore it was a no-brainer for me to join Kertos in the early days. I was very, very hyped about the mission on changing how compliance is managed in Europe and also disrupting the market a little bit. Yeah, I joined over 2 years ago, and yeah, it has been a very, very nice ride since then. And a few words about Kertos. Kertos was founded in 2021. It was born out of a personal pain of our founders, Kilian. He was general counsel in different scale-ups, and yeah, he really didn't like the way how compliance, especially data privacy and information security, was managed there, and thought that there must be a technical solution to it. And traditionally, I mean, you already see it in the word Datenschutzbeauftragter, data protection officer, that this was traditionally always solved by consulting. And yeah, Kertos was founded to found a more innovative solution and help startups, scale-ups to be compliant and to be compliant with less manual effort than usual to automate everything. Now we are over 50 employees based in Berlin, Munich, and other cities. Back then when I joined, we served 3 customers. Now it's a 3-digit number of customers, so we were growing heavily. And yeah, maybe now before we dive deep into the agenda, I would ask you, what are your expectations for the day? Is there something especially interesting to you? Maybe if I get a couple of answers in the chat, what would you like to see, to learn today? Of course, we have an agenda, but maybe we can first check if we did a great job in drafting the agenda. SOC 2 and ISO compliance from scratch and the overlap of them. How much is automated? how much work we will have to do and cost. Okay. Okay, everyone else seems to be a little bit shy right now. Also, during the next minutes, if there are some questions, if there are some like expectations, feel free to put them into the chat. I have a co-host who will nudge me if I forget something, and therefore we will make sure to answer all your questions. Do you also do the ESOIS audit? Okay, we will answer all these questions in the next minutes. Comparison of your solution versus the usual tools like Vanta. All right, couple of questions, amazing. We will answer all this within the next 25 to 30 minutes. So I think this session will last for like 30 minutes. Then of course we have also questions for Q&A. So we have we have time for a Q&A. So we have 45 minutes blocked. But maybe we'll be done a little bit earlier. Let's see. All right. What will we cover today? First of all, what is the ISO, and why does it matter? Then the benefits of having it. A lot of myths versus the reality. Then we will give you a basic guide on how you can structure the process, on what you need to do if you want to get ISO certified. Then we also outline a project plan, how this would look like if you work together with us. And in the end, we also show you how Kertos can help, and a real-life example of one of our customers who started working with us. And in the end, there will be a few final tips and a Q&A for all of your questions. All right, the ISO. Why does it matter and what is it? So the ISO is the international gold standard for information security. It's internationally known. No matter if you're like in Europe, if you're in the US, it's just the way how companies internationally show that they have a working information security management system. And it's also relevant for companies of all sizes. And one question we often hear is, okay, so we get certified that we are perfectly safe. This is actually not true. Your management system gets certified, which maybe also shows that you are taking risks, but it shows that you manage those risks. So the certification is regarding the information security management system and not regarding your safety. Why would you do it? It demonstrates to customers, to suppliers, to partners that your information is protected. It really, really helps you to increase the security of your informations. But it's also a kind of a sales enablement tool. So it shortens sales cycles. It's oftentimes a requirement in the procurement process. And it also helps you to set up scalable processes. And therefore, it's also quite obvious what the benefits are and why you should do it. First of all, the increased security. You have clarity and structure around data processes. You reduce the risk of cyber attacks and breaches, but also regulatory and compliance and risk management. It helps you to fulfill legal requirements. We saw this question in the chat, SOC 2 and ISO overlap. Actually, there are overlaps also between the ISO 20001 and the GDPR. So there are a lot of frameworks out there and all of them are different, but also there are overlaps in between of them. And for example, if you are ISO certified, some of the GDPR requirements are then also fulfilled. Other than that, customer satisfaction and competitive advantage. If you have a competitor who isn't certified, but you are, it might be that especially enterprise clients will prefer working with you versus your competitor. And it's also simply trust building, maybe with customers, with partners, but also with investors, since the ISO also signals maturity in your business. So let's have a look into common myths. These are myths that we sometimes hear from our customers in the beginning, and let's have a look on how it actually is. First one, ISO is only for large enterprises. In the reality, it also is relevant to small companies, and we also started working with companies when they were not yet founded. So they told us, okay, we will have the meeting at the notary next week. Let's now already set up the basics. And when we had our appointment at the notary, then we can start building it, because they were a startup. They wanted to sell to enterprise clients. They know they needed it. And therefore, from the beginning on, it was important to them to get certified right away. Next one. ISO takes a year and is full of paperwork. This might have been true in the past. Traditionally, it was a lot of paperwork, but if we see what is happening in the market right now, one of you mentioned also our competitor Vanta in the chat. We see that a lot of smart tools are out there to help with automation, to build a scalable ISMS, and to reduce paperwork to almost zero. And then your ISMS in a tool can be centralized, managed, and also updated, automated. And we saw with our customers that we managed to get them certified within a few months, usually like 3 or 4 months. But also, if someone really has a tight timeline, we also managed to do it below 10 weeks. So this myth that it takes a year is definitely outdated. Next one. The ISO process will slow up product development, or in generally, maybe it slows us down internally. We cannot focus on what we actually want to do, like grow, build, etc. In reality, after the ISO, it's actually a growth enabler, and also it might help you scaling, also in product development, since all your processes around information security are scalable and are set up in a proper way. So also this myth is actually not true. Before we jump into our ISO basic guide, I just want to ask you if you maybe know some more myths, and if you know them, feel free to type them into the chat, or maybe you yourself have some concerns on like why you should or should not do ISO certification. No one is confronted with any myths, so that's good to hear. Then let's look into the basic guides and the steps. So first of all, when you decided that you want to do the ISO, you need to lay out the foundation. This is, first of all, define the scope. If you have multiple offices, you need to think about, okay, which offices needs to get certified. Maybe in one office that's just like a sales subsidiary, nothing is like developed there, so we don't take this office into the scope. It's totally up to you to really like think of what actually needs to be certified with this ISMS. Then assign the roles, who is a stakeholder in this process and who needs to be within this process, who needs to join the process. And also, this is very important, get management buy-in. If not you, if it's not you, the management, who is like, managing the site certification, then you need to get the management on board, and they should have your back. And after you know the scope, you assign the roles, you have the management buy-in, etc., it's about to identify risks. Risk management is a very, very important step in the ISO process. which is also something the auditor will have a very, very close look on. After you defined all the risks, you also need to look into all the controls. In the ISO, there are a lot of controls given, and you will assess and create a statement of applicability. So you check if those controls are applicable to you. If so, then you need to implement them. Other than that, you can also argue why they don't apply. Then you will also define the policies, the processes, like access management, incident response, backup, etc. After this is done, so you check the controls, you implemented the controls, you define the policies, you also need to train your employees. So awareness within the whole company is a must. There are different ways on how to train them. You can have training in your office, you can have them digital. For example, we have all the trainings on our platform. And you need to make sure that all of your employees passed the mandatory trainings. Of course, everything also needs to be documented. So while doing everything, you need to build the documentation, or you use a tool which documents everything on its own. After you implemented all the different controls, you did the policies, you did risk management, you did asset management, trained the employees, documentation is there. After your work is done, you need to conduct an internal audit. This can be someone in your company who has knowledge. This can also be someone out of your company. So, for example, we could also do the internal audit for you. And then there must be a management review. So leadership simply needs to assess what you did. After you passed the internal audit, you also need to pass the external audit. This is done by an auditor. So we can't do it. There was this question in the chat. Do you also do the ISO audit? Yes, we help you with the internal audit, but the external audit actually needs to be done by an auditor. Otherwise, we would also have a conflict of interest. You could compare it to a driving school to get your driving license. We will train you how to drive, but then if you have the actual test, the driving license isn't handed out by your driving school, right? And the external audit has 2 stages. In stage 2, the auditor reviews all your documentation and checks if the ISMS that you've been building is actually a solid ISMS. And if you were for example, thinking of all the risks, if you also created the right statements for all the controls, and then in the stage 2 audit, the auditor actually checks the implementation. And after you pass the stage 1 and stage 2 audit, you are certified, and we will congratulate you on this achievement, because for a lot of companies, it's actually a real milestone to get it done. So how would a project plan with us look like? First of all, there's the onboarding into our tool. We integrate your cloud infrastructure. We use all of our discovery channels and integrations to get everything into our tool. Then there's the preparation and documentation. Especially this preparation and documentation, and also the ISMS implementation part, is done in a sparring. So our platform guides you. We can guide you, but there's also some things, for example, when it comes to policy writing, where you need to make your decisions. And we will help you draft the policy. We, for example, have the tool which is a policy maker. You answer questions and the policy gets generated automatically. But you, in the end, need to do the decision if this policy is actually the right policy for you. So within this process, the preparation, documentation, and ISMS implementation, we will have a lot of check-ins, weekly or bi-weekly, depending on the pace that you want to have within the process. Then we will have the internal audit with you if you want us to do it, then the stage 1 audit, where the auditor will just check all the documentation, then the stage 2 audit. And in the end, your ISMS is automatically updated. It's an ongoing monitoring of everything, and you will pass surveillance audit. And after 3 years, you will get audited again. Are there any questions so far before we continue? Yes, exactly. If you are certified, you need to get. Also, I'll first repeat the question. Stephen asked, did you say audit every 3 years? Yeah, this is correct. So after you pass the audit, you aren't audited forever. This also makes sense because probably you are a scale up and you get audited while having 20 employees, but in 3 years you had a period of hyper growth and you're 200 employees. You probably changed your business model. Maybe you moved into another office, and therefore a lot of processes might be outdated. So you need to do an audit every 3 years to make sure that you stay certified. All right, sounds like a lot, but we can help you. And how can we help? First of all, we automate a lot of processes necessary for the ISO. For example, asset management. You need to have a register of all your assets that are relevant for your business. And this could be cloud assets, right? Things that are like on your, I don't know, Google Cloud, Azure, whatever. This could be also mobile devices. And for those assets, we've built integrations. So we connect to your cloud, and we can automatically read out all the assets and we can put them into the inventory. Same for mobile devices. We have integrations for example, Microsoft Intune for mobile device management systems, and we can automatically put all those assets into your asset inventory. We have a lot of discovery integrations to discover your vendors, your systems, the data located there. And therefore, a lot of manual work can be done by us in an automated way. Same for automated policy writing. We have a tool which will ask you a lot of questions, and based on your answers, we will propose the policies for your business. Yeah, to maybe sum it up, what we want to do is combining best of both worlds. On the one hand side, being a next generation compliance platform, which helps you with automated processes, and on the other hand side, having an expert team who guides you through the journey on achieving the ISO. And Stephen, this is maybe also something that helps to ask the question, the comparison of our solution versus Vanta. I'm always a fan of not gossiping about competitors, but just focusing on us and what we do good. Vanta has a great platform. They were developed in the US. They are experts in also, let's say, SOC 2, where I see our advantages. We are a platform built in and for Europe. So we are experts in frameworks like GDPR, in the EU AI Act, and in all regulatory frameworks that are important if you do business in Europe. But of course, we know that European companies also do business with the US. So we also offer SOC 2. And I would also argue that we have also a little bit bigger focus on giving you expert guidance, while Vanta is more like a self-service platform, which is nevertheless, they've been building a solid product. I would say we are just like a version from Europe for Europe, experts in the European frameworks, who also offers more expert guidance. Yeah. I hope this helps and this answered your question. So if you work together with Kertos, what does this mean for you in terms of numbers? With smart automation and with our expert guidance, you can save up to 80% effort. How did we come up with this number? We actually worked together with companies who tried to get certified themselves. They've been working on it for a year and didn't manage to pass the audit or come close to passing it. And then since they started working with us, we achieved it in no time, I would argue, and saved them from this like manual hustle, which wasn't successful. All right, maybe to give you a real world example, augmented industries. We started working together with them since they needed the ISO certification, and they also had a tight timeline. They wanted to get it done as fast as possible. So from kickoff to external audit, it was below 10 weeks that they received their certification. And also 100% of the requirements were fulfilled by the audit. So it was great success. And since they started working with us, and like most companies, they are not only regulated, for example, by the GDPR or want to get the ISO 20001, but they also wanted to get the ISO 40001, and they are also regulated by the EU AI Act. We started to work together with them also in those other frameworks, and achieved, I would call it a multi-framework success. The ISO 42001 certification was achieved within 42 days, and also the AI Act implementation was a couple of weeks until we implemented everything for them. And since they were so happy with us, they also were so kind to do a customer success story with us. If you're interested to look into more details, we can also send you this customer success story later. All right, then let's have a look into the final tips. And then we have, we are almost on point, 3 minutes until 1:30. Then we will have time to look into further questions. So first of all, if you want to do it, involve all stakeholders. Do it early. Then make sure you also have the management buy-in. This is something very, very crucial, that they are aware that you're doing this, that they also are willing to answer your questions. For example, when it comes to policies that you want to roll out in your company. Also, you should book your auditor in advance. Depending on which auditor you want to have, sometimes it takes 3 or 4 months until they have the next free time slot for an audit. So check early which auditor do you want to have, and make your bookings way in advance. Of course, leverage automation. We are super happy to support you there, to build your ISMS in a platform that scales with you, and stay consistent, update policies. If you see that your business changes, make sure your ISMS reflects it, so the next audit can then also go very, very smooth. And then one maybe personal note on our final tip is make use of the summer lull. We always see that, especially in months like June, July, August, when a lot of management employees are maybe in their summer break, or when also customers are in the summer break, the lead pipeline is maybe smaller. This is the time where you really have capacity to focus on the ISO. We saw it also last year. There were some companies who started with us before this summer break or the summer lull, and this is a very, very good time to get everything done. All right, let's have a look into all of our questions. First of all, 32 and ISO 20000, right? Compliance from scratch and the overlap of it. I'm not a SOC 2 expert, I need to admit. We have other people in our team for that, luckily. There is definitely an overlap, but SOC 2 is a report, not an audit. And also, we think that SOC 2 might get more and more irrelevant in the future. Nevertheless, if you do the ISO, you already have a lot of necessary requirements for the SOC 2 implemented, but you still need to build the report. So it's definitely an additional effort. Then how much is automated? How much work will we need to have to do and cost? Cost depends on exactly two things. First, what's your complexity? Like, how complex is your company, your business? We have different buckets in terms of employee sizes, and depending on the bucket that you fall in, this determines the cost. And the second thing, if you work together with us, it's also the amount of frameworks. For example, in the example of augmented industries, they did not only the ISO 20001, but also the 42001 and the AI Act with us. And the more frameworks you do with us, the cheaper it gets. But yeah, working with us regarding the ISO starts at a high 4-digit number per year. So it's not 5-digit, but it starts at a high 4-digit number per year. Do you provide a hosted compliance page that we can have under our domain name so we can? Yeah, we do this. We call it Trust Center. You can also have a look into our Trust Center if you look into kertos.io. And then you scroll down, and next to the data privacy statement, there is another page linked called Trust Center, and we provide this so you can show to all your customers, to partners, etc., how you manage your compliance. What can I expect to pay for the audit? It depends. It also depends if you need to do a penetration test or not. It also depends on which auditor you choose. In general, the ISO tells auditors a minimum time that the auditor needs to take to do the audit, depending on your complexity. And then you take this minimum time times the hourly rate, and then you have it. I would say for a startup with, for example, 20 employees, you can expect at least 3 to 4K, maybe 5K for the audit. And this is something you need to do every 3 years. So yeah, I would assume it's maybe 4 to 5K. All right. Let me run through the questions. Then there was the other question, how much is automated? A lot, but not everything. So how do we do it internally when we develop our product? We look into the ISO. So we have a product team who is experts in all the standards. We look into the ISO and we figure out which requirements are there. And then we think of how could we put those requirements into our platform in form of features, and which processes can be automated by those features. And then you come up with nice things like the policymaker or the asset inventory, which is all automated. But it's also important that you are aware of resources that you need to free internally for, let's say, 3 months to get everything done. But I like the question, how automated because one thing I haven't shown you right now is something that we released just recently, since we know that ISO is a complex process and we want to give you as much guidance as possible and automate as much as possible. We did something very, very new in the market. Everyone is talking about agentic AI, and we thought there must also be an AI CISO. Therefore, I will just quickly share this video with you so you can have an idea of what awaits you on our platform. Yeah, so our product and tech team really ships new stuff with a speed that is incredible. And since I think 2 weeks, we have Kaya on board, your AI CISO, which helps you to achieve everything even faster and with more guidance than ever. And if you're interested in how this actually looks on the platform, also feel free to go on our website to book a demo and have a look into the platform to really see the platform in action. Let's get back to the slide. There was another question: is complexity based on number of employees or also on the tech stack? Of course, complexity has also to do with the tech stack. Nevertheless, our pricing is based on employees. So we use number of employees as an estimate for the complexity. And we also don't want to do the pricing too complex. And therefore, this is the one metric we use to guess your complexity, but it definitely also has to do with your tech stack. And generally speaking, the more cloud native a business is, the more power our platform has. Be right back. Got to fire half the team before we start this. Love it. If we need to do the ISO in a super short time frame, is it possible to do it with Kertos? It's definitely possible to do it with us, but then also make sure that you have the resources. So if in the end you are the person who tells us in which pace you want to do it, we definitely have the resources to do it very fast. But then you also need to have the resources internally who take care of all the to-dos on your side, so that we can do it. I mean, with augmented industries, we, for example, demonstrated that we did it within below 10 weeks. And I think our fastest time was something around 8 weeks. All right, we have 5 minutes left. If there are further questions, we could look into them now. Otherwise, I maybe wait for 1 more minute. So if you have some more questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we also had an amazing time together, 40 minutes. And then we have 5 more minutes to get our work done. And very, very important, never hesitate to contact to us if you're interested in how the product looks, if you're interested in how we can get this done. We are very, very happy to show you what we've been busy building. It's always a pleasure for us to see how we help companies to achieve compliance very fast, not completely effortless, but definitely way smoother and with less effort than usual. We are out there to help you that you can really, really focus on your growth, on your core business, and we can take care of your compliance. I really enjoyed those 40 minutes together with you. Please, I already told it 2 times, then reach out to us, reach out to me, book a demo on our website. We are very, very happy to help. And Ali just pasted the link in the chat. So if you think this was interesting, you want to see the product, just click on the link and get in touch with us. Amazing. Then have a great day. Thank you so much for joining. And we might do webinars more often in the future. So you might see me or a colleague of mine again. See you and wishing you all the best. Bye-bye.